Hello world, this is Budrich. It's a new episode of Let's Linux. I call this one i3 key bindings menu in rofi. And we're gonna do this. This that you see here at the top of the screen is a rofi menu that is created by I parse the i3 config, currently loaded config files. So all these key bindings are in effect now. And the key bindings, they are written like this. Hash mark, that means super key. Plus, that's shift key. Circumflex, this guy, it's control, and alt is exclamation mark. So that means super, control, and S launches this subproman here. And super S, that's sublime. And I can launch any command here with this menu. Like this. I can also do this. Let's open my config file here. This is my i3 config. And you know, I use this section thing here. It's my own little package, Sublime, simple syntax for Sublime. So if I go here to i3 run here, for example, that's a section. I can also edit keys with, whoops, wrong, damn it. I can also edit the keys here. You see, now I launch it with a -E flag, my menu here. When I select something now, let's choose that FMD. Here, FMD win E, that's this guy here. If I select this, then I get this exact line here. And I could actually edit this here now. If I change this to FMV, select that. Here you can see it's updated, and it actually reloads the config. So now if I would hit super E here, we can see that here, then it will try to execute this command, but that doesn't exist. So I don't want to do that, but it works like that. And I can also create new commands. Oh. There. You see the first field here is new. If I select that, then it let me choose here which section I want to create the command in. Let's take i3 run here. And then I can enter anything. And this is just a blank line now. So if I enter just a comment, hello from rofi, it inputs that in the config file immediately. So I could add keys, I can add variables, I can add window rules or whatever with this. And I thought I would make a couple of videos here on how I have built this. Because it's not super complicated, and this is how this will be. I think it will be maybe 3 videos actually. But I will not upload as I usually do to GitHub, like the scripts that I used in the video to GitHub. Instead, I will create a polished version of this and upload it like I upload my usual i3 AS scripts and stuff with a proper manual page and its own little homepage and things like that. But I thought I would make this video anyways, because there are lots of cool little AWK and bash tricks going on to get this working. So see it more as a awk tutorial, or maybe not tutorial, but you get it. And I think this might have a limited audience, but I don't really care. I don't care so much about my viewing numbers, and this is the type of video that I would like to see myself. So that's why I'm doing this. But if you really don't like this type of content, you can comment and let me know that. And if you do really like this type of content, I'm also interested in hearing that. So I don't care so much about the view numbers, but I care about the comments. Let's get started. key bindings menu. This is a script I have created, just a blank script in my path here. So I could actually launch this, clear, or let's do this. The way I get the information from, or get the config, is with the built-in i3 message command, i3 message -t get config. This will print out the currently loaded config in kind of a raw form. You see it's variables and comments and white space, everything. It's just a comment, but it's not the actual comment file. It is what is loaded into i3. So if I would edit my config here without reloading, then we wouldn't see these changes until I reload the config. But the thing with this is that it's incredibly fast, and we don't need to read anything from disk by doing this. So at least I don't think i3 message fetches this from any disk space. I think it's from memory because it's so fast. So we will parse the output of this command, and also we are sure that all commands are from the real config file. And we don't have to know the path of the config to use this also, which means the script becomes a lot more portable. So let's start by doing i3 message -t get config, and then we start with piping this to awk. And we want to display all the key bindings in the menu, and the default way to defining a key binding in i3 is to use the keyword bindsim as the first field of the line. So if we do a test here to see if the first field is equal, you need two equal signs. Make a comparison, is equal to bindsim. Then we can print that line. Okay, let's run this key bindings menu. Now we can see it only prints the lines starting with bindsim, but it only prints these lines. And as you can see, my configuration file is, I have a lot more key bindings. But the thing is, let's go all the way to the top. I use this variable here, super, equals bindsim space mod 4. So instead of writing bindsim directly, I use this super variable instead. So that's why these keys are not included in. So let's change this. This is why these keys are not included in the output here, because we're just looking for bindsim. And one thing that we will do in this script is to expand all variables. And this is good for other reasons too. This also makes the script more portable, since it doesn't matter, you can use any kind of user variables in your config, but when we run it through this script, it will expand the variables, so it will really read it as in its raw form, and we can always use this bindsim. So that's one thing that I would like to do. Another thing is that more or less all of these keys here that are outputted are from my modes. I have 4 different modes in my config file, and all with the same key bindings here, and almost exact same commands. They are just, and they only work in modes. So those would just be confusing, and it will bloat my rofi menu to include these mode keys. So I will also make a little test to make sure that all mode key bindings are ignored by the script. I also copied that user variable here, we will use it later. But let's start with the mode thing. Modes, it's easy to identify. The first field is mode, and then we have the mode, and the mode ends with a closing brace like this. So we can do something like this. If $1 is equal to mode, then we create a variable that we can call isMode is equal to 1. And then we do another test, and here we do $0 includes a closing brace. It might also work with a $1 equals closing brace, but I just to be sure, maybe this is not perfect, but it works at least with this config, and I think it will work for most config. If you would have a closing brace in one of your commands inside the modes, then it would exit the mode. So whatever. So maybe it's safer to have it as $1. Yeah, let's do that this time. So if $1 is equal to closing brace, then isMode is equal to 0, of course. And then we can add to this test here, if the first field is bindsim, we also make sure that we are not in a mode by doing isMode is not equal to 1. Then we print the line. So now if I run the command, now we get no bindsims from the mode. Okay, let's expand these user variables. And this is a bit tricky, but no problem for AWK to do this. A user variable, it looks like this. Let's actually copy it down here. Because even if it's not highlighted now inside, because I have single quotes here, so the syntax highlighting doesn't work here. But in AWK you can prepend a line with a hash mark, and then that will be a comment in the script. User variables, first field is set. If $1 is equal to set, and we have found a user variable definition. The second field contains the name of the variable, and the rest of the line is the content of the variable. We will use this variable name for pattern matching and stuff, and since it starts with a $sign, I have found it to be safest to store this variable name without the $sign. So otherwise you get problems when you do regular expressions with it, and then we can just append it if we need to. So first we start by removing that $sign from $2. We can do that with this. No, $sign. Replace that with nothing in $2. And then we can store $2 here as the user bar is equal to $2. Then we want the rest of the line, meaning everything except $1 and $2. And then you might know that I usually do this. If someone have a better way to do this, please let me know, because I'm interested about that. I set both $1 and $2 to nothing here, blank, and that means it will look like this. But then we are left here with 2 leading spaces in the line. So to trim those spaces we can do this. We can do a new sub here. This time we use this guy. From the beginning of the line, find all spaces. 0 or more occurrences of space should be substituted with nothing in $0. And then we can also store, what is this now? God damn it. User var, and then we can store this in user val is equal to $0. Now we have isolated the value, the variable name and the content of that variable. Now we store these in an array. We can call that variables, and the key name can be user var. The content of this element is user val. And that's how we find these user variables. Then we have to loop this array on each record here, each line, and see if it contains $2 here, or the user var. And then we replace that, substitute that with the content of that array element. Maybe I should do this. You can actually add, this is a special AWK thing, you can add the end keyword and then a block like this, and this will be executed after all lines or all records are processed by AWK. You can execute something in this end block, but you still have access to all arrays and variables and stuff. So here we can do a for k in variables print k, and then we can also skip this for now. So now it will only print these user variables names if this works, and it does. This is all my user variables, and here we can see the super, for example, but I have more of them here. They are, however, in a scrambled order here. It's not alphabetical or chronological or anything. That's the problem with associative arrays. We will look into this later, but not now. Okay, now we want to expand the variables on each line, because we need to do this on each line, because otherwise we wouldn't find all the bind sims. And we also have to do this last in the AWK loop, because if we would do this before the loop, before we loop do this now. If we would do this before this, then it would translate the variables themselves, and we don't want that. So that's why we need to do this last. And this is kind of the tricky or hard part with AWK, that it's important where in the loop, so to speak, you add stuff. But now we can actually just do a jisub here, meaning substitute all occurrences of variable name. But that's not good enough now. We need to add dollar also, dollar and then k. So that will translate to the variable name prefixed with a $sign. If it finds this, then it should substitute that with variables k, which is the content of that element, in $0. And it will do this now on each line. And now if I uncomment this again and run this, now it prints all my key bindings, and as you can see, it have expanded both the super variable and the exe variable and everything. So this is like a raw form of the config. We could even do this. If I would do this and just print $0 here, then we will get the whole config with each variable expanded. Yeah, these are variables. Yeah, you see it's completely different, but it's like the raw config file. So this can also be handy and good to know how to do this. And this should work for any config file. Okay. Let's do this again and see how it looks like. We can see here that there are a lot of words, keywords here, that's only important for i3 when it parses the config file. For example, bindsim. We don't have any use for that in our rofi menu and when we want to execute the commands. And this exec, we don't need that. We don't need the no startup ID. And there's also this release. There might be other words too that we don't need. You can see that almost all of them are in this line here, so I will copy this. So let's remove those keywords from our output here. We just do a jisub oops. And then we put that inside forward slashes here, and we separate each word that we don't want to include with a pipe symbol like this. We don't need to have both the execs. We substitute that with nothing in $0 like this. Now if I run it, now we get a much cleaner, shorter output. And now we basically got all that we need. The first field now only contains the key combination, and the rest of the line is the command to run. So we will do something similar as we did here. We can create a variable that we call bindsim that contains $1, and then we do $1 is equal to nothing. Then we trim the white space and add $0 to we can call it cmd command, and then we can print bindsim here, for example. And now we should only get the key combinations like this. As you remembered, in my menu I have shortened the key combinations with these symbols, which are the same symbols that auto hotkey, which is a hotkey thing script language for Windows that I have used a lot. That's why I used it. But I also like that it's only one character per key, which make the combinations really short, and I kind of like that. So what we do here, before we store this inside the bindsim here, we can also substitute each of those keys. Mod 4, replace that with a pound symbol in $1. And then we have a couple of more here. We have mod 1, which is the alt key. We have control, which is this guy, and then we have shift, which actually translates to plus sign. Okay, let's test it now and see what it looks like. And now it have translated the keys, but we can see we have a lot of pluses in some of them, and that is because plus is the separator for the key bindings. So what we do, the first thing before substituting the keys, is remove all pluses from the field. So then we do a jisub to be sure to remove all of them. Replace it with nothing in $1. And now we got the fields that we want. Okay. maybe I should print the commands also here. CMD. This is only the commands. There are some commands here, for example this, workspace 1. That's an i3 command that you can bind to a hotkey, but if I launch this command, workspace, let's take 2 instead since I am at workspace 1, but it doesn't work since workspace command not found. This is because this is an internal i3 command. Also this layout here, that's also internal command, and move is an internal i3 command. And also kill here, that's internal i3 command, and you can get really unwanted results if you just eval this kill. So what we need to do is prefix these internal commands with the i3 message, and then it will always be executed correctly. And how do we know which commands are internal and which aren't? It's actually very simple. If I remove this from this guy here and run it now we can see all commands that doesn't have an exec are internal. And I don't remember, I gotten this question before, I don't remember why I use double execs in my commands like this, but I remember I read a forum post, or it was in the chat channel or something, there was some reason for it, but I don't remember why. But it doesn't matter, because internal commands doesn't have 1, it doesn't have 2, it have no execs. So before we substitute this, these things, we check if the line contains any exec words. If $0 contains the word exec, then message is equal to i3 message space quote closing parenthesis, else message is equal to blank string. And then I like to do this because this yeah, let's run it again here. Whoops. This is actually what I want to display in my rofi menu. I don't want to append the i3 or prefix the commands with i3 message in the rofi menu. Then the commands becomes too long, and yeah, I just don't want that. So the best thing in my opinion is to store the real command, including the i3 message, in its own variable here. So we can call that real command is equal to, and now the variable message, it either contains i3 message space or message nothing. So if I just concatenate message with command, then we get the real command here. And if we print real command, we should see something like, no. No, I did it the opposite. Now all we need to see if $0 doesn't contain exec. Now internal commands here, i3 message layout, this is external norm scripts that I launch, and they doesn't have the i3 message prefix. So that's good. Another thing that I need is, you remember when I enter this edit mode and select an item, I get this is the actual line in the i3 config without any variable expansion or anything. To achieve this, I need to store the original line before I expand the variables here. So we can just create a variable here that we call original is equal to $0. Then we could, yeah, you get it. We need this later. Last thing to do now is to create this kind of pseudo arrays that I like to do, and then print like a fake array inside AWK here, and then evaluate this whole block so we can use that array inside bash. And the array will look something like this, and this is when it gets a bit complicated and maybe a bit messy, but whatever. We do this. We print, we can call the array keys, and I want it to look something like this. The number of keys, and then like cmd for example, and that should be equal to, yeah, a command. And then we create one that's called bindsim. We do this for each key, and then the next time, or they will not look like this actually, because bash, it doesn't understand. This is a multi-dimensional array that would work inside AWK, but it doesn't work in bash. So in bash it would look to create something like this. We have to name them like this, and then we create this 0-command, 0-bindsum, 0-real command, and so on. And the next key we find will be named 1.command, 1.bindsum, and so on. So we need two things here. We need we need to create this number, something to increment a number every time we find a key binding. And we can, just as we did an end clause here, you can also create a begin clause with in AWK to have code executed before the loop starts. It's only executed once, not on each line. It's usually used to initialize variables and stuff. So here we can create a variable called found keys is equal to 0, for example. And then we do something like this. Keys, found keys, dash, bind sum, closing bracket, equals, backslash, quote, quote, bind sum, quote, backslash, quote, quote. And then we do one for command. We do one for real command, and we also do one for the original line, which we have stored here. Original. Just came to think there is one important thing here. You can see this last, because if I would eval this, I have escaped quotes here, because I want to include that in the output. Yeah, if we can run the script here. Now we get this really strange output. And you can see they are quoted, everything. But if a line or a command or whatever includes double quotes, and if I would eval this, yeah, also we need to increment the found keys. Let's do that first. Found keys is incremented by 1, and now we see we got 101 keys. If a line includes double quotes, and if I would eval this, then it would break the eval, the double quotes here. That would end this string, and then it would read this as a, maybe it actually works with double quotes, but it can cause troubles, these double quotes. And also dollar signs also cause trouble now that I think about it. So we need to escape double quotes in the original line, and we need to escape the dollar signs also. We can actually, I think we can do this. We do it here. Do a jisub, and then we do this, 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 this. The pattern is double quote. Substitute that with, we want it to look like inside these quotes are the substituted string, and we want it to look like this. But this wouldn't work, because now we get an escaped quote here only in awk. We also want to include this backslash. So let's take it from the start. To print an actual backslash, since that's a special character, you need to escape the backslash itself. And after that backslash, we want to print a quote, and we need to escape that as well. So this should work. $0. And if I run the command now we can see all backslashes are escaped. These dollar signs in they only appear in the original variable here, and that is because it's before we substitute it with this. We can't really escape dollar signs here, then we get problems later when we try to find these sets. So I think we escape those in this block when we have found a bind sim. We can do that also here at the top. Jisub. Yeah, let's do this. Dollar sign. Replace that with, do the same thing here. Backslash. Backslash. Maybe it's enough with 2 backslashes here. In original. No, I'm not 100% sure it will work. Let's see. Yeah, but now it escapes. Because otherwise, when we eval this with bash, it will try to expand these as variables. We don't want that. I think we need to do this. Maybe I'm overdoing it here now. We will see later. Yeah, let's try to eval this thing. We put that here. Eval. And I found that this is the best way to do it. Put it inside a quoted subshell. Like this. Now if I run this, 58 milliseconds, nothing printed, but now we can use this array in bash, one would think, but actually that's not completely true. If I would try to do that for k in var, oh, we have to do, oops, in goddamn autocomplete dollar variables at symbol echo k. We get nothing because this array here, it doesn't, oh, and we name the array keys. That's right. That we should get some output. Well, it actually did work. I really didn't think it would. That's kind of weird. But now we can see we get the output without the backslashes, and the quotes are included, and that's very good. But it's actually strange that it worked here, because I thought that we needed to declare this. Let's do it anyways. This is usually an error you get, that you need to declare this keys array as an associative array with a capital A like this. Another thing is to be able to use this. There was a good reason why we added this found keys, the numbered each of these. If we, at the end here, we also do this print found keys is equal to found keys. So this will print the line found keys is equal to the number of keys that we have found, and we can use that variable also in bash here now. So if I echo found keys, we should get the number 102 key bindings. And that's correct. Remember, the last key was actually named 101, but that it's a 0 based index, so that's why the total number of keys are actually 102. So if we do this loop instead, for I is equal to 0, I is less than found keys I plus plus. Do echo keys I, let's do this, I dash bind sim. Done. Okay, let's see what kind of output we get now. Now it loops through these key bindings. It prefix this array index with the index here, as long as it's less than found keys, which was 102, so it will stop at 101. Now we get all our key combinations in the right order as they appear in the config file, not scrambled at all. And we could also, I think you get it, we can in this loop access anything here. We could also access the command, for example. So now it will print both the key combination and the command. If we want to add this to rofi, now I will do some crazy stuff here. If we put this block or this loop, let's do this. Put this inside a block. You can do this. Then each echo here will be part of the same block output, so to speak. And you can actually pipe this output to another command, for example rofi with the dmenu flag. Now if I run this command, we get a rofi menu with the key combinations first and then this, and if I select something, then it prints the whole selected item. Rofi has, I have actually pasted it here this is from the rofi man page, with the format option. Then you can use this to get different outputs from rofi. For example, S is the default, that prints the selected string. But if you have format I, then it will print the index, the number of the item in the menu, starting with 0. D, then it starts from 1. Then you can also get quoted strings or filter strings and stuff like that. But we want the I here. So if we do that to our key bindings menu here, we add format I. Now if I select something here, it prints the index, and this index correlates to this. Now we need to store this, and this is when stuff gets a bit cluttered here, but whatever. I like to store selected things from rofi in a variable called selected. So selected, and then we put this whole block and the rofi and everything inside a quoted subshell here. Well, maybe the quote was overkill, but whatever. Like this. I know this is not the prettiest code in the history of time, but it will probably work. And I always do this. I perform a test here to see if selected is empty. If it is, then we exit the script. This is very good to do, otherwise you can get weird results. Exit. You can actually do an exit one. But if we have selected something, then we can do, for example, echo keys selected, which now contains the integer of the number that we selected. Let's do original. So now select something, semicolon, refocus, and it prints the original line from the config. Pretty cool. And if I wanted to execute a command with this now, it isn't more to do than eval the real command key. Now save this, run it again. Let's take something. Refocus. That is, this should blink that terminal window really quickly. Maybe it didn't even saw that. Maybe there are some funnier things to do. Sublime notes. This would execute my notes Sublime instance, or activate it, and there it is. So yeah, with this script that we have here now, you can do a lot of things, and this is like the hard part, to create this AWK. But now you see the possibilities it gives us, and it's not many lines of code. We are down here at 66 lines of code, and then we got a really nice array to work with here. But I think I will end this video here and continue in the next part, where we will do more stuff to it. Maybe it's enough with 2 videos now that I think about it. We'll see. But I hope you found this interesting, and maybe you even learned something, and something you can use yourself. If you really want to try this script, and I haven't uploaded it yet, as soon as I have uploaded my polished version of this, I will add that to the show notes of this video. But I have probably not done so when I in the initial upload. So if you really want to try this out, then you have to watch the video and write this yourself. But you can do it. I say thank you so much for watching the Let's Linux series, and this episode that you have watched all the way here proves that you are really a bash and awk enthusiast, and I appreciate that. Have a great day, my friend. Bye bye.